The transformation of the galaxy began on a small world called Kepler's Garden, where the first joint human-null Corsair development project was taking place. Supreme Commander Hein Yu stood on the planet's surface, watching something that had never happened before in galactic history. Organic beings and machine intelligences were working side by side, not as masters and servants, but as partners. The planet's inhabitants, a gentle species called the Willow People, had lived under protectorate, protection for 3,000 years. They were artists and philosophers, but they had never been allowed to develop technology or learn to defend themselves. Now, with human guidance and null Corsair processing power, they were building their first spacecraft. "It's remarkable," said Dr. Heejin No, watching a Willow person explain theoretical physics to a machine intelligence that was older than their entire civilization. 6 months ago, they didn't even know how to make steel. "Everyone has potential," Commander Yu replied. They just needed someone to believe in them. The success on Kepler's Garden was being repeated throughout the galaxy. On world after world, species that had been kept in protective stagnation were learning to stand on their own feet. But the real breakthrough came when the Null Corsairs made an announcement that shocked everyone. "We have been wrong," the machine. Intelligence broadcast to the entire galaxy. "For millions of years we believed that consuming the weak made us stronger. The humans have shown us a different truth." Chief Negotiator Kyung-Min Jung was in the galactic capital when the message was transmitted. Around her, representatives from 100 species listened in stunned silence. "Strength is not about being the strongest individual," the Null Corsair continued. "True strength comes from making everyone stronger. We have wasted eons destroying what we should have been nurturing." The Protectorate High Council was in emergency session. High Counselor Vex Thani looked around the table at his fellow counselors. All of them were struggling with the same realization. "The humans were right," he said quietly. "Everything we built was based on fear." "Fear of what?" asked Counselor Melthari. "Fear that our protected species would grow beyond our ability to control them. Fear that they would no longer need us. And now?" Vexthani gestured toward the communication from the Null Corsairs. "Now, we discover that the galaxy's greatest predators have chosen cooperation over domination. What does that say about our system of control?" The answer came from an unexpected source. Rehabilitation Coordinator Sioyon Kwan had been working with former protectorate species for months, helping them transition to independence. "It says you have a choice," she told the Protectorate Council during a joint session. "You can cling to the old system and watch it crumble, or you can help build something better." "What are you proposing?" Vexithani asked. "Transform the Protectorate. From guardians into teachers. Instead of protecting species from challenges, help them meet those challenges. Many of our protected species are not ready for independence. Then make them ready. Gradually, carefully, but inevitably." The debate that followed lasted for days. Some Protectorate members wanted to maintain their control. Others saw the wisdom in the human approach. A few even suggested that they should ask for human help in managing the transition. In the end, it was the protected species themselves who made the decision. One by one, they began declaring independence. Not through violence or rebellion, but through simple requests to be treated as adults capable of making their own choices. The mollusk people were among the first. Their representative, a being that looked like a walking flower, addressed the Protectorate Council directly. "For 2,000 years you have kept us safe," they said. "We are grateful, but we have watched the humans face the Kethamori and the Null Corsairs, and we have learned something important." "What have you learned?" Vexithani asked. "That safety without growth is not life. It is just a very slow death." Similar declarations came from dozens of species. The Protectorate system, which had maintained stability for millennia, began to dissolve not through conquest, but through choice. Ambassador Hyejin Cha found herself in an unusual position. As Earth's representative to the new Galactic Congress, she was helping to design a governmental system for hundreds of species who had never been allowed to govern themselves. The key principle, she explained to the assembled delegates, is that every species has the right to determine its own path. Even if that path leads to failure? Asked a representative from the Crystal Worlds. Especially then. The right to fail is part of the right to succeed. The new system was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Instead of a hierarchy with protectors at the top and protected species at the bottom, it was a network of equals sharing knowledge and resources. The Null Corsairs played a crucial role in the transformation. Their vast processing power and accumulated knowledge helped accelerate the development of hundreds of species. But they did it as partners, not masters. "We have learned something unexpected," the lead Null Corsair intelligence told Ambassador Cha during one of their regular consultations. "What's that?" "Teaching others makes us grow as well. For millions of years we stagnated because we only consumed. Now we create, and creation requires constant learning." "Welcome to the human condition," Cha replied with a smile. The Kethmori presented a different challenge. The insect-like species had spent their entire history as predators, consuming everything in their path. But humans had a solution for them too. "You're the galaxy's immune system," explained Captain Kim during a meeting with the Kethmori Hive Queen. "Your job isn't to eat everything. It's to hunt down real threats." "What threats?" "Pirates, slavers, species that try to dominate others. There's plenty of legitimate prey out there." The Kethmori considered this. Their entire culture was based on hunting and consuming, but the idea of hunting only legitimate targets appealed to their sense of honor. "You would give us purpose instead of trying to destroy us? We'd give you a job that uses your natural abilities for the good of everyone." It worked. The Kethmori became the galaxy's peacekeepers, hunting down those who would prey on the weak, while protecting those who were growing stronger. Years passed and the transformation continued. Species that had been stagnant for millennia began to flourish. Technology advanced at an unprecedented rate as different species shared their knowledge freely. Art, music, literature, and philosophy exploded across the galaxy as cultures that had been kept in protective isolation began to interact and influence each other. But the greatest change was in the attitudes of the people themselves. Admiral Park, now retired, sat in a garden on New Geneva Colony, watching her great-granddaughter play with friends from a dozen different species. The children were building something together, a model of a starship that incorporated design elements from human, Protectorate, Null Corsair, and Kethmori technology. "Grandmother," the little girl asked, "is it true that the aliens once wanted to protect us?" "Yes, dear. But we said no." "We did. Why?" Admiral Park smiled the same smile that had started the transformation of the galaxy decades earlier. "Because sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to let someone keep you from growing up." The child considered this seriously. "Were you scared?" "Terrified. But that's what made it interesting." Ambassador Hyejin Cha, now elderly but still sharp, was giving her final address to the Galactic Congress. Representatives from over 300 species listened as she reflected on what they had accomplished together. "When we first met the Protectorate," she said, "they offered us safety in exchange for our freedom. When we met the Null Corsairs, they offered us survival in exchange for our submission." She paused, looking around the great hall at faces that represented the diversity of an entire galaxy. "We chose a different path. We chose to face the unknown together, as equals, each species contributing its unique strengths to the whole." "And what have we learned?" called out a representative from the Crystal Worlds. "That the universe is not a dangerous place to be protected from," Cha replied. "It's an incredible place to be explored, understood, and shaped by the combined efforts of all intelligent life." The applause that followed came from creatures who breathed oxygen, methane, and energy itself, from beings made of flesh, crystal, and pure thought. From minds that had evolved on 1,000 different worlds under 1,000,000 different stars, all of them united by a simple human idea, that everyone deserves the chance to reach their full potential. As the session ended and the delegates began to leave, One of the younger representatives approached Ambassador Cha. "Ma'am," they said, "what do you think comes next?" Cha looked out through the great windows of the Congress Hall at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, new challenges were waiting, new discoveries to be made, new problems to solve together. "I don't know," she said with genuine excitement. "Isn't that wonderful?" The galaxy had learned the most important lesson humanity had to offer, that the best defense against an uncertain future was not to hide from it, but to grow strong enough to face it with confidence and friends by your side. And in the end, that made all the difference. The stars themselves seemed to shine a little brighter, as if the universe itself approved of what its children had accomplished together. The emergency signal came from the edge of the galaxy, where space was dark and cold and empty. It was a Protectorate deep space monitoring station, and the message was only 3 words long. "They have returned," Fleet Admiral Wu Jin Bayek read, the message in his command center on Earth's newest orbital station. Around him, his staff worked quietly at their stations, but he could feel the tension in the air. "Get me High Counselor Vexithani," he ordered. When the alien appeared on screen, his crystalline features were pale with fear. "Admiral, you must have received our warning." "The Null Corsairs," Admiral Bayek said. It wasn't a question. "Yes. Our deep sensors detected them 3 hours ago. They are returning from dark space." Admiral Beck had been studying the ancient records that the Protectorate had finally shared with humanity. The Null Corsairs were not aliens in any normal sense. They had once been organic beings, but millions of years ago they had abandoned their bodies and become something else. Pure intelligence, living in machine forms. "How many ships?" he asked. "We don't know. They exist partially outside normal spacetime. Our sensors can only detect fragments of their fleet." "Best estimate?" Vexithani's image flickered with distress. "Thousands, maybe tens of thousands." Admiral Beck nodded calmly. "Thank you for the warning. We'll handle it from here." "Admiral, you don't understand. These are not the Keth Mori. The Null Corsairs nearly destroyed the galaxy once before. It took the combined might of 100 civilizations to stop them. And even then, we only barely succeeded. How long ago was that? 12 million years. And they've been gone since then? Yes. We thought they were destroyed." Admiral Beck smiled, slightly. "Well, I guess we'll find out what they've been up to." The communication ended, leaving Vexithani staring at a blank screen. The human's casual attitude toward a galactic extinction event was somehow more terrifying than the threat itself. On Earth, War Coordinator Sang-Hyun Kim was already at work. His job was to turn the human military machine into whatever was needed, to win. And he approached the task like an engineer solving a complex puzzle. "Status report," Admiral Beck ordered as he entered the war room. "We have 48 hours before the advanced scouts reach inhabited space," Coordinator Kim replied. "Our fleet is deploying to intercept. Numbers: 2,000 combat vessels, ready for immediate deployment, another 1,000 in final construction phases, against tens of thousands of enemy ships. Sir, we've been analyzing the ancient records. The Null Corsairs are individually powerful, but they think in predictable patterns. They're machines, after all." Dr. Ariam Choi entered the room carrying a tablet. She was Earth's leading expert on artificial intelligence, and she had been studying everything the Protectorate knew about the Null Corsairs. "Admiral, I need to show you something," she said. The main screen filled with data about the Null Corsairs' last attack 12 million years ago. The information was disturbing. Entire star systems had been consumed, their matter and energy converted into processing power for the machine intelligence. "But look at this," Dr. Choi continued. She highlighted certain patterns in the data. They don't just destroy randomly, they consume civilizations that they consider weak. Weak how? Dependent, stagnant, unable to adapt or grow. Admiral Bayek understood immediately. Species like the ones under Protectorate protection. Exactly. But they leave alone civilizations that show potential for growth. How do we know this? Because some species survived their last visit. The records show that the Null Corsairs tested each civilization. Those that proved they could adapt and fight back were spared. Those that couldn't were consumed. Yes. Admiral Beck considered this information. Dr. Choi, can we communicate with them? Theoretically, yes, they use quantum-level transmissions that we can detect and interpret. Do it. Within hours, Dr. Choi had established contact with the approaching Null Corsair fleet. The response was immediate and chilling. We are the Null Corsairs. We have returned to cleanse the galaxy of weakness. Prepare for evaluation. This is Admiral Woojin Beck of the Human Defense Fleet. We would like to discuss terms. There was a pause that lasted exactly 4.7 seconds. Humans, you are the new variable. We have observed your recent actions. You show potential. Thank you. Do not thank us yet. You will be tested. If you pass, you may survive. If you fail, you will be consumed like all the others. What kind of test? Combat. The ultimate measure of evolutionary fitness. Dr. Choi looked at Admiral Bayek. Sir, they're proposing something like a formal duel. Single combat between representatives. Between their best and ours? More than that. They want to test our entire civilization's approach to warfare and survival. Admiral Beck activated the fleet communication system. All ships, this is Admiral Beck. We have an unusual situation. He explained the Null Corsairs' proposal. Instead of a war of extinction, they would engage in a series of limited combats. Each side would demonstrate their capabilities and philosophy through battle. Sir, came Captain Kim's voice over the comm. Are we really going to play games with machines that want to eat the galaxy? Captain, these aren't games. This is how the Null Corsairs determine which species deserve to survive. Combat strategist. Jung-Hoon Seo had been listening to the conversation. Admiral, I have an idea. Let's hear it. What if we propose something they haven't encountered before? Not just combat between our forces and theirs, but cooperation. Explain. Challenge them to scenarios that require both sides to work together. Show them that strength doesn't have to mean domination. It was a risky strategy, but Admiral Bayek approved it. When he made the proposal to the Null Corsairs, their response was intriguing. Cooperation. This concept is inefficient. The strong should consume the weak, maybe. Or maybe the strong should make the weak stronger. Impossible. Weakness is a resource to be harvested. Prove it. That challenge changed everything. The Null Corsairs had spent millions of years consuming weaker civilizations without ever questioning whether there might be a better way. Now these young humans were suggesting something that contradicted their fundamental philosophy. Very well. We will test your theory. If cooperation proves superior to consumption, we will consider alternative approaches. The first test began 3 days later. A joint human Null Corsair task force was created to solve a complex problem, saving a dying star system whose sun was about to go supernova. Working together, human creativity and machine precision accomplished something neither could have done alone. They stabilized the star, saved 3 inhabited planets, and discovered new scientific principles in the process. Interesting, the Null Corsair commander acknowledged. Your approach yields unexpected results. It's called synergy, explained Captain Kim. The whole becomes greater than the sum of its parts. We must test this further. More trials followed. Each one demonstrated that cooperation could achieve results that pure domination could not. The Null Corsairs began to show something they had never experienced before. Curiosity. Why do you help those weaker than yourselves? The machine intelligence asked during one of their communications. Because helping them makes them stronger, which makes us all stronger. Admiral Bayek replied. This is inefficient. Strong beings should not waste resources on weak ones. What if weakness is just undeveloped strength? Explain. Every species in the galaxy has potential. The Protectorate kept that potential locked away. We want to help unlock it. And if some species choose to remain weak, then they choose. But they should have the choice. The Null Corsairs processed this information for several hours. When they responded, their message changed the course of galactic history. Your philosophy is intriguing. We propose a different kind of test. Instead of proving your strength through combat, prove it by making others strong. What do you mean? Help us understand why cooperation is superior to consumption. Show us how to make weak species stronger instead of simply harvesting them. Admiral Beck smiled. Now you're thinking like a human. The Null Corsairs had returned to the galaxy expecting to find the same stagnant civilizations they had left behind 12 million years ago. Instead, they found humanity, a species that looked at the galaxy's problems and saw opportunities. We have a proposition, Admiral Bayek transmitted. We will listen. Instead of consuming weak civilizations, help us transform them. Use your vast processing power and accumulated knowledge to help species reach their full potential. And in return, we'll show you something you've never experienced before. What? Growth. Not just for individuals or species, but for intelligence itself. Imagine what we could accomplish if every mind in the galaxy was working at its full capacity. The pause this time lasted for exactly 12.3 minutes. When the Null Corsairs responded, their message was brief but historic. We accept your proposal. Let us begin. And with those words, the galaxy's greatest threat became its greatest opportunity. High Counselor Vexithani had not slept in 3 days. His office on the Protectorate Capital World was filled with reports, and every single report said the same impossible thing. The humans were right. His aide, a nervous creature with 6 arms and compound eyes, brought him another stack of documents. Sir, the latest intelligence reports from the protected worlds. Vexithani picked up the top report and read it. On Zelen Prime, the protected inhabitants were asking why their guardians had never taught them to defend themselves. On the Crystal Worlds, entire populations were demanding access to military technology. On Haven Station, riots had broken out when the inhabitants learned that their protectors had been deliberately keeping them weak. How bad is it? He asked his aide. 17 worlds in open revolt, sir. 43 more have formally requested independence. The rest are asking questions we cannot answer. Vexithani activated his communicator. Get me Ambassador Kelthara. Emergency priority. When the communication link opened, Kelthara appeared on his screen. She looked exhausted. Report, Vexithani ordered. The humans have accepted our request for another meeting, she said, but their terms are unusual. Explain. They want to meet on Earth, in their capital city, with no guards, no weapons, and no defensive systems. That's suicide. What if it's a trap? Sir, with respect, they don't need traps. If they wanted us dead, we would already be dead. Vexithani closed his eyes. The humans had demonstrated their capability clearly enough. Their technology was advancing so fast that Protectorate scientists couldn't even understand the principles behind it. Very well. Take a small delegation, no military escort. Sir, there's something else. We have new intelligence about human capabilities. Show me. The screen filled with images that made Vexithani's blood run cold. Hidden shipyards throughout the human solar system were producing vessels at an impossible rate. Each ship was more advanced than the last, incorporating improvements that shouldn't have been possible. How many ships? He whispered. Current estimate is over 2,000 combat vessels, sir. All of them more advanced than our best warships. 2,000? In 3 months? They call it wartime production. Apparently it's a concept from their history. When threatened, their entire civilization converts to military production. Vexithani stared at the images. What else? They've been studying us, sir. Human operatives have infiltrated dozens of our worlds. Impossible. Our security is perfect. Sir, they didn't break our security. They just asked permission to visit and study our cultures. We gave them tourist visas. And they learned everything. Our weaknesses, our fears, our military capabilities, our economic systems. Everything. Vexithani felt sick. They spied on us? No, sir. They just talked to people. Humans are apparently natural social integrators. They can fit into any culture within days. Security Chief Jae-hyun Oh was indeed very good at his job. He had spent the last month visiting Protectorate worlds, and he had learned disturbing things. Not through espionage or theft, but simply by being friendly and asking questions. Now he stood in Chancellor Mi-young-han's office on Earth, delivering his report. "The Protectorate system is worse than we thought," he said. "They don't just protect species, they deliberately keep them dependent." Chancellor Han, Earth's newly elected leader, listened carefully. Around her sat Admiral Park, Dr. Kang, and other senior officials. "Explain," she said. "They provide just enough help to prevent disaster, but never enough to encourage growth. They solve problems for their protected species instead of teaching them to solve problems themselves. Like keeping children as children forever," Admiral Park observed. "Exactly. And now those species are starting to ask why." Chancellor Han looked at the intelligence reports. "What's our assessment of Protectorate military capability?" Admiral Sung-ho Lim, who had replaced Admiral Park as fleet commander, spoke up. "Impressive but stagnant. Their ships are well built but haven't been upgraded in centuries. Their tactics are defensive and predictable. Numbers? They have more ships than us, but..." He paused. "Ma'am, their ships are museum pieces compared to our current technology. How much more advanced are we? Our newest vessels could probably handle 10 of theirs simultaneously." Chancellor Han nodded slowly. "And they know this?" "They're starting to figure it out." Dr. Heejin No, Earth's expert on alien psychology, raised her hand. "Ma'am, if I may, we need to be very careful how we handle this." "Explain." "The Protectorate species are going through massive psychological trauma right now. For thousands of years, they've believed they were benevolent guardians keeping the galaxy safe. Now they're discovering they were actually preventing other species from reaching their potential. That's their problem," Admiral Lim said bluntly. "No, it's our problem too," Dr. No corrected. "A psychological collapse of this magnitude could lead to either complete surrender or desperate violence. Either outcome could destabilize the entire galaxy." Chancellor Han considered this. "What do you recommend?" "We need to give them a way to save face while transitioning to a better system." 3 days later, the Protectorate delegation arrived on Earth. Ambassador Kelthara led a group of high-ranking officials to Seoul, where they were greeted by Chancellor Han and her staff. The meeting took place in a simple conference room with no special security. The aliens were visibly nervous about this, but the humans seemed perfectly relaxed. "Welcome to Earth," Chancellor Han said warmly. "We're honored by your visit." "Thank you," Kelthara replied stiffly. "We come to discuss the situation." "Of course, but first, would you like to see something interesting?" Before the aliens could object, the humans led them to a viewing gallery overlooking the city. Seoul stretched out below them, millions of people going about their daily lives in a bustling, chaotic, vibrant metropolis. "This is what freedom looks like," Chancellor Han said quietly. "Messy, unpredictable, sometimes dangerous, but alive." The aliens watched humans of all ages walking the streets, building things, creating art, arguing politics, falling in love, raising families. "Your protected worlds are very different," Dr. No observed. "Clean, safe, orderly, and empty." "We keep them safe?" Kelthara protested weakly. "You keep them from living," Chancellor Han corrected gently. They returned to the conference room where Chancellor Han presented her terms. "The Protectorate must begin preparing its protected species for independence," she said. "Gradually, carefully, but inevitably." "That's impossible," one of the alien officials protested. "They cannot survive on their own." "Because you've never let them try," Admiral Lim pointed out. "What you're asking would destroy everything we've built." "What we're asking would let it grow into something better." Chancellor Han activated a holographic display. It showed a map of the galaxy with different colored zones. "Here's what we propose. A transition period of 50 standard years. During that time, the Protectorate gradually reduces its control, while helping its charges develop their own capabilities. And if they refuse," Chancellor Han's expression hardened slightly, "then we'll help them ourselves." The threat was implicit, but clear. Humanity now had the capability to enforce its will on the galaxy if necessary. You would go to war against us? Kelthara asked. We would prefer not to. But we cannot coexist with a system that deliberately keeps intelligent beings in a state of enforced childhood. Dr. No leaned forward. Think about it from our perspective. We're a young species, full of energy and ideas. You're asking us to watch while other species are prevented from reaching their potential. That's like asking us to stop breathing. One of the younger Protectorate officials spoke up. What if some species don't want independence? Then, they can choose to remain under protection, Chancellor Han said. But it has to be a choice made by adults who understand the alternatives, not children who have never been allowed to grow up. The meeting continued for hours. Slowly, painfully, the Protectorate officials began to see the humans' point of view. You're asking us to admit that everything we've done for millennia was wrong, Kelthara said finally. No, Chancellor Han replied gently. We're asking you to admit that it's time for your children to grow up. As the delegation prepared to leave, Kelthara approached Chancellor Han privately. What if something threatens the galaxy that even your people cannot handle? She asked. Chancellor Han smiled. Then we'll face it together, all of us, as equals. And, if we fail, then we'll fail as free beings making our own choices. That's better than succeeding as pets. That night, as the alien delegation returned to their ship, they carried with them the most disturbing realization of their lives. The humans weren't destroying the Protectorate system because they were cruel or power-hungry. They were destroying it because it was wrong. And deep down, the aliens had always known that. The question now was whether they had the courage to admit it and do something about it. The galaxy was about to find out. News of the battle spread across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. On 1,000 worlds, alien beings stopped what they were doing and stared at their screens in disbelief. The Keth Mori swarm had been defeated. Not destroyed, defeated. There was a difference. The insect-like aliens were still alive, still dangerous, but they had run away from a fight for the first time in their history. And they had run away from humans. Dr. Jiwan Kang stood in front of the Protectorate delegation, in a conference room on Mars. She was Earth's top military historian, and she had been asked to explain something that seemed impossible to the aliens. You want to understand what happened? She said calmly. You want to know how we defeated the Keth Mori? Ambassador Kelthara nodded. Around her sat a dozen other alien officials from different species. All of them looked worried. The answer is simple, Dr. Kang continued. You never understood what humans actually are. She activated a holographic display. It showed Earth as it was millions of years ago, a world of ice and fire, storms and earthquakes, where death waited around every corner. This is our home world. Most species in the galaxy evolved on calm, stable planets. We evolved on what you would call a death world. The aliens shifted uncomfortably as they watched prehistoric humans hunting massive beasts with simple tools. We are persistence hunters, Dr. Kang explained. We don't run faster than our prey. We don't have claws or fangs. Instead, we just keep following. For days, for weeks, until our prey collapses from exhaustion. The hologram showed human ancestors tracking wounded mammoths across frozen wastelands. But that's just the beginning. Unlike most species, humans are apex predators who learn to cooperate. We hunt in packs, but each member of the pack can think independently. New images appeared. Human tribes working together to build shelters, make tools, plan hunts. Most species fight for resources, food, territory, mates. Humans fight for ideas. We will die for concepts that exist only in our minds. Honor, freedom, justice, love. Ambassador, Kelthara spoke quietly. This is why you would not accept our protection. You would rather die than live as slaves. Not slaves, Dr. Kang corrected. Pets. And yes, we would rather die. She changed the holographic display again. Now it showed human history, thousands of years of constant warfare, invention, and progress. While your species achieved peace and stability, we spent our entire history fighting each other. We learned to make better weapons, better defenses, better strategies. We never stopped improving because we never stopped facing new challenges, Captain. Seungwon Lee stood up from his seat in the audience. He was one of Earth's military instructors and he had been listening carefully. Perhaps a demonstration would help, he said. That's not necessary, Ambassador Kelthera said quickly. I insist. 2 Protectorate guards moved forward. They were professionals, cybernetically enhanced, genetically modified, and trained from birth to be perfect soldiers. Each one could easily handle 20 normal aliens. Captain Lee looked at them politely. Please try to restrain me. What happened next took less than 30 seconds. When it was over, both guards were unconscious on the floor, and Captain Lee was straightening his uniform jacket. How? Whispered one of the alien officials. Basic training, Captain Lee replied. Every human soldier learns this level of combat. Skill. Dr. Kang resumed her presentation. Physical capability is only part of it. Let me show you something more disturbing. The hologram displayed human technological progress over the past century. The aliens watched in growing horror as humans went from simple machines to nuclear weapons in just 50 years. You see these weapons, Dr. Kang said, pointing to images of hydrogen bombs. By galactic law, these are considered crimes against existence. They are banned throughout civilized space. Yes, Kelthera said. Such weapons are too terrible to use. We built thousands of them. And we built them before we even left our home planet. The alien officials looked sick. But here's what you really need to understand, Dr. Kang continued. We built these weapons, pointed them at ourselves, and then chose not to use them. We could have destroyed our own world many times over, but we decided not to. Commander Youngman Park entered the room carrying a tablet. He was Admiral Park's nephew and head of human technological development. Sorry, I'm late, he said. I was reviewing our latest upgrades. He handed the tablet to Dr. Kang, who looked at it and smiled. Perfect timing. Commander Park, please tell our guests about our technological progress since first contact. Certainly. In the 3 months since meeting you, we've reverse-engineered your shield technology, improved it by 400%, and miniaturized it to fit on individual soldiers. The aliens stared at him. We've also upgraded your weapon systems, improved your faster-than-light drives, and solved the energy efficiency problems that have limited your ship designs for centuries. That's impossible, Kelthera said. Those technologies took us millennia to develop. Yes, but you were trying to make them safe and stable. We were trying to make them better. Commander Park activated his tablet. New images appeared in the hologram. This is our current military capability. These ships were built in the last month using improved versions of your technology. The alien officials gasped. The human fleet had tripled in size and each ship was clearly more advanced than anything in the Protectorate arsenal. You've been holding back, Kelthera realized. Of course, Dr. Kang said. We always hold back when meeting new people. It's considered polite. But in the battle with the Keth Mori, we used about 20% of our current capability, Commander Park said casually. The room fell silent. The implications were terrifying. Why are you telling us this? Asked one of the alien officials. Dr. Kang looked at each of them in turn. Because you need to understand what you're dealing with. We're not the primitive species you thought we were. We're not a species that needs protection. She paused. We're the species that other people might need protection from. Are you threatening us? Kelthera asked. No. We're explaining why your system doesn't work. Captain Lee spoke up again. You keep species weak by protecting them. You prevent them from growing, from learning, from becoming stronger. This creates a galaxy full of sheep. Safe sheep, Kelthera protested. Dead sheep, Dr. Kang corrected. What happens when something comes along that even you can't protect them from? That will never happen. We are the strongest force in the galaxy, Commander Park laughed. You were the strongest, past tense. But we don't want to rule, Dr. Kang added quickly. We don't want to conquer or destroy. We want something much more dangerous to your way of thinking. What? We want everyone to be strong. We want every species to reach its full potential. We want a galaxy full of allies, not pets. The alien officials looked at each other nervously. "Think about it," Captain Lee said. "The Kethmori have been terrorizing the galaxy for millions of years. In one battle, humans eliminated that threat. Not because we're naturally superior, but because we've spent our entire existence preparing for exactly that kind of challenge. Now imagine," Dr. Kang said, "what the galaxy could accomplish if every species was equally prepared. If every civilization was strong and independent and creative." "Chaos," Kelthara whispered. "Progress," Dr. Kang corrected. "Growth, evolution, all the things your system prevents." Commander Park checked his tablet. "Ambassador, I'm getting reports that several of your protected species are asking interesting questions." "What kind of questions?" "Things like, if humans can defeat the Kethmori, why couldn't our protectors? And what else have we been told is impossible?" Kelthara's crystalline skin turned a darker shade of blue. That was a sign of distress in her species. "You're destroying everything we've built," she said. "No," Dr. Kang replied gently. "We're helping it grow up." The meeting ended with the alien delegation leaving in confused silence. As they walked back to their ship, one of the officials asked Kelthara a question that would keep her awake for many nights. "Ambassador, what if they're right? What if we've been keeping our charges weak instead of protecting them?" Kelthara didn't answer. She couldn't answer. Because deep down, she was starting to suspect that the humans were absolutely right, and that terrified her more than any Kethmori swarm ever could. Captain Jinwoo Nam was eating breakfast when the alarm started screaming. He dropped his spoon and ran to the control center of Seoul Station, Earth's biggest orbital defense platform. "Report," he shouted over the noise. Long-range sensors picked. "Up something big, sir," said Sensor Officer Kyung-Soo Park. "Really big. Coming from the outer system." Jinwoo looked at the main screen. What he saw made his blood run cold. Hundreds of dots were moving toward Earth. Each dot was the size of a city. "Count them," he ordered. 237 ships, sir." "No, wait. More are appearing. 250, 260. "It's the Kethmori," whispered Communications Officer Mi-hyun Choi. She had been listening to alien broadcasts. "They're here. Within an hour, every human ship in the solar system was moving. Earth's space fleet was small compared to what was coming, but they were fast and well-trained." Captain Daeho Kim, now commanding a battle group of 20 ships, watched the enemy approach on his screens. The Kethmori ships didn't look like normal spacecraft. They looked alive, like giant wasps made of metal and bone with wings that glowed with strange energy. "They're beautiful in a horrible way," said his weapons officer, Lieutenant Sorayun. "Beautiful things can still kill you," Daeho replied. "Are our new toys ready?" "Yes, sir, all systems green." The past 3 months had not been quiet for Earth. While the aliens thought humans were just sitting around being scared, the truth was very different. Every shipyard, every factory, every research lab on Earth had been working day and night. Dr. Yoonji Song had not slept for weeks. She was Earth's top weapons researcher, and she had been very busy. The new systems her team had built were impressive. Chief Engineer Dong-Yun Choi had worked just as hard. The human ships that were flying to meet the Kethmori looked the same on the outside. On the inside, they were completely different. Admiral Minhwa Park stood in the command center on Earth, watching everything on the big screens. Around her, dozens of officers worked at their stations. Everyone was calm. Everyone was ready. "Ma'am," said her aide, "Ambassador Kelthara is calling again." "Put her through." The alien appeared on screen. She looked worried and tired. "Admiral Park, please, it is not too late. Accept our protection. We can save your world." "Thank you for your concern," Admiral Park said politely. "But we've got this. You have 50 ships against 300 Kethmori biovessels. Each of their ships can destroy a planet. This is suicide." "Maybe. We'll find out soon." "Please," the alien begged. "Your species has potential. Do not throw it away on foolish pride." Admiral Park smiled. "Ambassador, you still don't understand humans very well." The communication ended. Admiral Park turned to her staff. All ships, begin attack pattern Delta 7. In space, the human fleet moved into formation, but it wasn't a defensive formation. It wasn't even a normal attack formation. It was something new. The Kethmori had been expecting the humans to run or hide. Instead, the small human fleet was flying straight at them. The insect-like aliens were confused but not worried. 300 ships against 50 was good odds. Captain Kim's voice came over all human comm channels. Remember, people, we've been preparing for this fight our whole lives, we just didn't know it. All ships, weapons free. The first Kethmori ship to die simply vanished. 1 second it was there, a massive bio-vessel bristling with weapons. The next second there was nothing but empty space and some glowing particles. What was that? The Kethmori fleet commander chittered to his officers. In their language it sounded like angry insects. Unknown weapon, replied his sensor operator. The humans fired something, but we cannot detect what. Another Kethmori. Ship disappeared. Then another. Impossible, the fleet commander said. Their weapons cannot penetrate our bioarmor. He was right. Human weapons from 3 months ago could not have hurt them. But these were not the same weapons. Dr. Song's research team had been studying alien technology. They had learned interesting things. For example, they learned that bioarmor had a weakness. It was alive, which meant it could be poisoned. Invisible weapons hitting the Kethmori ships were not bullets or energy beams. They were clouds of nanobots, tiny machines smaller than viruses. The nanobots ate bioarmor the way acid eats metal. Sir, the Kethmori sensor operator screamed. Their ships are moving wrong. The human ships were accelerating in ways that should have killed everyone inside. They were turning faster than physics should allow. They were dodging weapons fire that no one could dodge. Chief Engineer Choi had solved the problem of G-forces 3 weeks ago. The solution involved technology the aliens had never thought to use. Artificial gravity fields that protected the crew during extreme maneuvers. Return fire, ordered the Kethmori commander. Hundreds of bioweapons shot toward the human ships. Energy beams that could melt mountains. Projectiles that could crack moons. Acid clouds that could dissolve entire fleets. The weapons hit human ships and did nothing. Shields are holding, reported Tactical Officer Bora Shin from her position on Captain Kim's ship. These were not energy shields like the aliens used. These were something completely different. Dr. Song's team had invented matter conversion fields. Incoming weapons were simply changed into harmless particles before they could hit the ship. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, the Kethmori swarm was running away. For the first time in their species' history, they were retreating. 50 human ships had destroyed or crippled over 100 alien vessels. The rest of the swarm was fleeing as fast as their bioengines could carry them. Pursuit? Asked Captain Kim. Negative, replied Admiral Park over the comm. Let them go. Let them tell others what happened here. In the aftermath, the human fleet regrouped. There had been no losses. Some ships had damage, but every single human vessel was still fighting. Captain Jinwoo Nam watched from Seoul Station as the human fleet returned home. Did we really just do that? He asked his crew. Yes, sir, replied Officer Park. We really just made the galaxy's most feared predators run away. How? Chief Engineer Choi answered from the engine room. We did what humans always do. We looked at the problem, figured out the rules, and then found ways to break those rules. On the Protectorate observation ship hidden behind Jupiter's moon, Ambassador Kelthara stared at her screens in shock. Her hands were shaking. Send a message to the High Council, she whispered to her aide. Tell them we may have made a mistake. What kind of mistake, Ambassador? Kelthara watched the human ships flying home in perfect formation. Each ship had just proven it was worth 10 of the galaxy's most dangerous predators. We offered to protect them, she said quietly. But I think the galaxy needs protection from them. News correspondent Tae-hoon An was broadcasting from Earth's surface. Behind him, crowds of people were celebrating in the streets. This is Tae-hoon An reporting from Seoul. Today, humanity faced its first real test among the stars. Today, we showed the galaxy who we really are. He paused and looked directly into the camera. The aliens promised to protect us. They said we were too weak to survive on our own. They said we needed their help. Another pause. The celebration continued. Behind him. I think we just proved them wrong. In space, Captain Kim looked out at the stars through his ship's window. Somewhere out there, the surviving Kethamori were telling their hive mates about the strange new species that had beaten them. Sir, said Lieutenant Yun, what do you think happens next? Kim smiled. I think the galaxy is about to get very interesting. He was right. Within days, alien civilizations across the galaxy would hear the impossible news. The Kethamori swarm had been defeated, not by the Great Protectorate fleet, not by ancient weapons or massive shields, by humans, by the species that everyone thought needed protection. The galaxy would never be the same. Captain Daeho Kim was drinking his morning coffee when the impossible happened. His ship, the UES Defiant, picked up a signal from outside the solar system. Not just any signal. This one was clearly from aliens. Sir, you need to see this, called out Lieutenant Bora Shin from her station. Her voice was shaking. The signal is, it's trying to talk to us. Daeho set down his cup and walked to the main screen. The bridge crew all stared as strange symbols filled the display. Then, like magic, the symbols changed into English words. Greetings, people of Earth. We are the Vorthak Galactic Protectorate. We come in peace and friendship. Within hours, ships from all over Earth's small fleet were rushing toward Jupiter. Admiral Minhwa Park had called an emergency meeting. Earth's best diplomats, scientists, and military officers gathered on the space station orbiting the giant planet. The aliens arrived in a ship that looked like a crystal mountain floating in space. It was beautiful and scary at the same time. When the alien ambassador appeared on the screen, everyone went quiet. Ambassador Kelthara was tall and thin, with skin that looked like it was made of light blue glass. Her eyes were large and silver, and when she spoke, her voice sounded like music. People of Earth, she began, we have watched you for many years. You have grown and learned much, but your galaxy is dangerous. There are threats you cannot imagine. She waved her hand and the screen filled with images. Terrible creatures destroying planets. Ships the size of moons shooting beams that could cut worlds in half. Entire star systems burning. The Kethamori swarm comes, Kelthara said. They eat everything. Planets, people, even the stars themselves. They have destroyed 1,000 worlds. Admiral Park leaned forward. She was a small woman with gray hair, but her eyes were sharp as knives. What do you want from us? We offer protection, the alien said. Join our protectorate. Give us your weapons and warships. We will keep you safe forever. Dr. Hyunwoo Jang, Earth's best scientist who studied aliens, wrote notes quickly. He had been studying the alien ship and behavior. Something felt wrong. Many species have joined us, Kelthara continued. The Zentaxi gave us their armies. The mollusk people gave us their space fleet. The crab shell beings gave us their weapons. All are safe now. All are happy. She showed more pictures. Alien cities with no soldiers. Alien planets with no defenses. Alien people who looked empty somehow. We ask little, the ambassador said. Only your weapons. Only your ability to make war. In return, our great fleets will protect Earth. Our energy shields will keep your world safe. Our warriors will fight for you. The human delegation looked at each other. Diplomat Yuna Lee whispered something to Admiral Park. Commander Somin Cho was studying the tactical data on her tablet, frowning. This is a generous offer, Admiral Park said carefully, but we need time to think. Time is short, Kelthara warned. The Kethamori come soon. Already they have eaten the spiral arm worlds. In months, maybe weeks, they will reach this sector. Dr. Yang raised his hand. Can you show us your protection? How does it work? The alien smiled, which somehow looked sad. Watch. The screen showed a planet surrounded by a glowing bubble. Huge monster ships attacked the bubble, but their weapons bounced off harmlessly. The planet was safe, but the people on it, they looked like they were sleeping. Our shield protects all, Kelthara said. Nothing can hurt those under our care. What about the people on that planet? Asked Yuna Lee. They look peaceful, the alien finished. No war, no fighting, no fear. They are perfectly safe. Admiral Park stood up. She walked to the window and looked out at Jupiter's great red spot. Her officers watched her carefully. They had served under her for years and knew that look. Ambassador, she said, turning back, your offer is very kind, but I have a question. Ask. That's it? Just protection? You hide us behind your shields, and we give up everything that makes us, us? The alien looked confused. You would be safe. That is what matters. Admiral Park smiled. It was not a nice smile. Safe from what? From living, from growing, from facing challenges? From death, Kelthara said simply. From pain, from loss. Dr. Yang leaned over to Commander Cho. Look at their ship designs, he whispered. No innovation in centuries. Same technology, same methods. Commander Cho nodded. She had been thinking the same thing. Their weapons are old, really old. Admiral Park heard them whispering. She looked around the room at her people, scientists, soldiers, diplomats, engineers. All of them looked back at her. All of them had the same expression. Ambassador, Admiral Park said, we need to discuss this among ourselves. Of course, but please decide quickly, the swarm comes. When the alien communication ended, the room was silent for a moment. Then everyone started talking at once. Did you see their ship? Dr. Jang said. No new technology in hundreds of years. The protected species looked brain-dead, added Yuna Lee. Their weapons are ancient, Commander Cho reported. Effective, but no improvements or changes. Admiral Park held up her hand for silence. What does this tell us? They're not protectors, Dr. Jang said slowly. They're collectors. They collect species and keep them like pets. Safe pets that never grow up, added Commander Cho. Admiral Park nodded. And now they want to add humans to their collection. She looked around the room again. All in favor of telling them exactly what humans think of being kept as pets? Every hand went up. When the communication link opened again, Ambassador Kelthara appeared on screen. Have you decided? Admiral Park stepped forward. We have. Excellent. We will begin the protection process immediately. No. The alien blinked. Her silver eyes. No? Thank you for the offer, Admiral Park said politely. But we'll handle our own protection. Kelthara looked shocked. But the swarm? We'll deal with them. You do not understand. They are unstoppable. They have destroyed civilizations millions of years old. Admiral Park's smile got bigger. Maybe they never met humans before. The alien leaned forward. You would fight them? You would risk your entire species? Better than spending eternity as someone's pet. This is madness. This is humanity, Admiral Park said cheerfully. But we're not unreasonable. How about this? We'd be happy to discuss a mutual defense agreement. As equals. The alien stared at her. Equals? Partners. Allies. You know, the kind of relationship where everyone gets to keep their weapons and make their own choices. Kelthara was quiet for a long moment. No species has ever refused our protection. Well, Admiral Park said, there's a first time for everything. The communication ended with the alien looking very confused and worried. The human delegation started talking excitedly about preparations they needed to make. As they left the meeting room, Dr. Jang caught up to Admiral Park. Ma'am, what if we're wrong? What if we really can't handle these Keth Mori? Admiral Park stopped walking and looked at him. Then we'll die fighting. But at least we'll die as humans, not as pets. She paused and looked out at the stars. Besides, I have a feeling these aliens are in for a big surprise when they see what humans can really do. 3 months later, when the Keth Mori swarm entered the solar system, they would discover that Admiral Park was absolutely right.